Crazy Jake coming at you.
That's right. Here he comes. Here he comes again. Okay, so now we're going to talk about playtesting and the importance of, alpha testing and kind of, what that means, and beta testing and that, those good things. That how important is it to get other people's eyes on a game to make sure that it's the best game that it could be? What do you think the importance of that is?
I will say that it's super important. The recent edition, 8th edition coming out for Warhammer, I played a little bit in 7th edition, didn't like it very much. Now, what would be the reason for me to play 8th edition if I didn't like the previous edition? So we were able to play test with the new rules for weeks before they came out. A couple weeks before they came out. And I loved the new rules. It totally revolutionized the game for me. So by people being here, the community being here, and playing games and watching me watch the games, then watching me and then having me play the game, now I'm totally in. Now I love Warhammer. So being able to play test games, see them in action, allowed me from being not only getting into a game, but getting into a game that I previously didn't like.
Okay, now what about your conceptually now? What about like a company like 8th edition? They claimed it was the most play tested game or version of 40K they've ever put out. I don't know if I agree with that. I think they had a lot of eyes on it, but a lot of things fell through the cracks. And for it is what it is. Like a game of that magnitude. More so, what do you think about the importance of? So they're developing 8th edition. Let's say they developed it for 2 years. How long do they keep it under wraps? And then obviously we know they told us that they let X amount of people play their game, and then play test it before they release it to the general public. Do you think there should be a beta test period where rules are available for the community?
I think if anything shows from this 8th edition that the community, the 2 weeks prior before 8th edition came out, community pointed out so much more of the flaws of the original concept of 8th edition rules, or at least what they revealed to us at that time after their playtesting. We revealed, I believe, probably so much more than they probably expected, or
it's just inevitable, right? More eyes on something.
More eyes points out more flaws. That's why with video games they release betas to anyone who signs up, or they have they usually have open betas now for big games, and that allows for their developers to see the cracks, for people to put in feedback. I think when it comes to big games, having the community, the people who are actually involved with it, because you can make a game and not really know how it's going to end up, how the players are going to use it.
Well, exactly, and that's where more people are going to find the holes in the game. So like Oblivion, where you could just sit in a corner and jump, right?
Yeah.
If more people had played beforehand, jump and level up. Like your acrobatics, I think it was. If more people had been available to play that or allowed to play that, you think they would have found that and they could have taken that out of the game?
Yeah, they probably could have, made the algorithm, for the acrobatic stat to be a lot different and not so abusable.
Does some of the stuff come down to cost too? The more people, although I think if you open up to a community at large, people are going to play it. In some cases, they're going to pay to play test it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like if
people love to have their input on, and be able to play things before they come out. Like people don't usually have to be coerced into that.
Absolutely not. I mean, it feels like you feel like you're improving something you enjoy. You feel privileged to something that not everybody is able to do.
Here's the thing. Magic the Gathering has their own R&D team, and they bring out these cards and stuff. And in a recent set, there was a combo, an infinite combo that the R&D team didn't even see, that the community saw day one that card was spoiled. One of the cards was spoiled. And so by having more eyes on it, they ended up banning one of the cards. So having more eyes on it was able to see the flaw in what they were bringing out. So when it comes with Magic, it'd be a little bit harder to like play test new cards.
For other formats, I would say. Now, don't you think that Standard is a little bit easier because it's a more limited format?
Yeah.
I think, to me, that should be as close to perfectly balanced as you could get. Mm-hmm. Because obviously new things come out, new mechanics come out, so things like Modern and Legacy and Commander are affected in different ways because you just can't. I don't the enormity of the task. I don't think you can balance against old editions, and you know what I mean. Like, and you have different people, with different input over a 25 year span, right?
Right.
Do you think there's some type of analytics they could use?
I mean, they have Magic Online, so they could run. Like 2 weeks before a set comes out, they could run a beta test on free leagues where you can use any of the cards to see what decks people would abuse.
But isn't that too late though? Isn't that too late to make a change? Shouldn't it be in the development process?
That's true.
You know what I mean? And maybe Magic's a little different than like we were talking about 40K.
Yeah, they want to keep things secret.
Right. But I mean, if you put even if you don't name the cards, you know what I mean? You just put no flavor text. You just put what it does. You know what I'm saying? And then let people play it. Open it up for a month.
Don't tell when it's coming out.
Right. Don't say what set it's tied to. Don't give it any flavor because you can keep all that. And then, maybe there's even a way to lock it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, they could probably easily enhance their R&D team with an online community.
Yeah, or you can go to these big events and.
I think with Magic and Warhammer and big games like that, it shows that there's always a flaw in their game that needs to be addressed. And so playtesting is, I think, immensely important, and a bigger community would help that.
Right. Now, how much of the corrections to these games, these larger games, obviously a board game is much easier to balance against itself because it's one contained entity, you know what I mean? There's and the expansions are carefully play tested, I'm sure, you know what I mean, to fit further mechanics. Even those change, even those get updated. But these, what do you think about the constant updating? How much of it is reactionary to what the community is seeing? So, for instance, 8th edition, when it came out, right away in June or July, right after it came out, a big tournament was won out west in Idaho, I believe. 6 Storm Ravens. 5 or 6 Storm Ravens, you know what I mean? Somehow they didn't anticipate that. If you could bring an army of 1 character or 2 characters and then a bunch of planes, that was going to be an issue. Somehow they didn't see that. But now they've changed it, so now you really can't win that way. Right. Not saying it's impossible, but it's much more difficult now than it was because you can't score with the planes.
Yeah.
I think that's a positive change. I think they said, okay, this game's 2.5 months old or whatever it may be, and we made a mistake. And they went back and they've changed it. They've added new rules that didn't exist in the rule book to change that. And I think that's...
Well, yeah, and I think that, so there's a lot of things. So I think that was a good change. I think that in this 8th edition, first turn is immensely important. And it almost seems like you have way better odds if you're going first.
Maybe that's a problem. Maybe they need to find a way to...
Yeah, and it seems like they put a Band-Aid over the issue, helping the odds of who's going first, rather than it just being rolling to C's. You roll off now instead of... So they fixed who goes first.
But that's not for every mission, though.
That's true.
I think most tournaments are going to go to that.
I agree,
wholesale,
but it still doesn't address the problem that going first is too strong. And obviously, we're still in the pre-codex age. We only got 2 codexes out right now.
We got 3 now.
3 now.
But
so once more codexes come out, everything could get more balanced. But
yeah, but the core rules really will stay unaffected. You know what I mean? They're still...
Yeah, but armies could get better to be more resilient, to not that first turn isn't as
Well,
important.
the community is going to find a way. I mean, I think that's what this whole discussion is about, is that the Jurassic Park thing, community will find a way. All right, Joel. Let's talk about beta testing,
What about
alpha
it?
testing. What's the importance of obviously play testing is important, but like, do you keep it small? I mean, I guess this whole conversation's in reference to 8th edition 40K, but it really applies to all games, doesn't it? Like,
Oh, yeah.
like you want multiple people's eyes on your product, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because I mean, otherwise it's not gonna be as good as it could be.
You got to find out what's broken before it gets to the consumer's hands. I think that's one of the biggest, one of the most important things about playtesting. Is you don't want to get it into consumers' hands and discover, hey, we didn't find this out because we didn't playtest.
Is it inevitable though? I mean, that like, let's say even if you have 30 people that are playtesting a given game,
Right.
once it gets opened up and 1,000, 10,000 people play it,
Oh, yeah.
things are going to be exposed, right? I mean,
They're
it's
gonna
just
they're going to find cracks in the theories.
Right.
Nothing's going to be waterproof when it comes out. I think that's why you see a lot of, even with 8th edition, for no longer than it's been out, as much errata to the rules and FAQ responses as you've seen already.
I think that's a good way to go about it, though, don't you? Like if there's an issue, I know a lot of people will complain about that.
It is to fix what's broken that they didn't find, but I'm kind of OCD when it comes to that. I don't like stuff all over my books, written all over my books. I would rather them take a little bit longer, play test it a little bit more thoroughly, get more people involved maybe, and then put something like that out.
Well, they swore that it was the most thoroughly play-tested game ever.
I don't think that was
Yeah, nobody knew flyer spam was going to be a thing in the first month of the new edition.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? So I guess this whole conversation spawned from, we were talking about, is this getting me? We were talking about if they need to open it up to just even if it's for a month, and say these are trial rules, play as many games you can and put your feedback here. 'Cause you know how easy it is to make a Google Doc form or Survey Monkey. You know what I mean? Like there's these,
Right.
The internet's a wonderful thing, and you can gather data. You know what I mean?
Ideally, what I would have liked to seen GW do is come out with a I guess, downloadable version of the rules, enough to keep it relevant, where it was free to download, knowing that it wasn't perfect.
Right.
Because somebody had to have been like, I don't think this is right, before they put it out, and then from there, get feedback from the community. And instead of having to errata the books once they've already been out, they can put out a polished product.